Political analyst Bheki Mngomezulu is a professor of political science and deputy dean of research at the University of the Western Cape. He joins us now to talk about the leadership prospects and the conditions under which it will take place in KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Mngomezulu. Perhaps it's important to start with the importance of KwaZulu-Natal having its first female premier. What impact will be felt by this particular decision?
No, thank you very much, Tsepitso, and good evening to your viewers. I think that our point of departure should be on the election of the new leadership in the province, which in fact made history by having, for the first time, the deputy chair being Nomagugu Simelane Zulu. That is something unprecedented in the history of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. So that was a good start. And now that we have a premier-elect in the name of Nomsa Dube-Ncube, that is even a plus because it means that not only are you going to have a woman who is the deputy chair of the ANC in the province, but you are also going to have a female who is a capable leader to be the premier, the first female premier of the province. So that is something to be commended because for quite some time we've been complaining about two deficiencies. One has been lack of women in leadership positions, not just in KwaZulu-Natal alone, but nationally. But then we've also been complaining about the absence of the youth in the leadership structures. So this then augurs well for the organization going forward, not just in KwaZulu-Natal, but nationally.
We'll talk about the turnover of leadership with specificities to Zikalala in just a moment, but I want to look at the track record of the Premier-elect and her seniority, which is one of the things that was pointed to on why she was a favorite for this position. But how will it lend itself, particularly to the new leadership's strategy of going back to basics? How is she going to be able to relate to those objectives, particularly with the grassroots?
No, I think that's a very critical point. The amount of time she spent as the MEC for COGTA would assist her in this regard, because as a minister, as an MEC for COGTA, we have to touch base with people on the ground, including the institution of traditional leadership, and then, of course, local communities as well. So she has that experience. But then in this leadership, the current leadership led by Siboniso Duma, you get a sense that they are determined to achieve a couple of goals, one of which is to bring unity in the organization, but also to bring services to the people. That is very critical because that is one of the reasons why the ANC did not do well in 2021 local government elections. People are complaining about service delivery. Now that we have this being prioritized, and then of course the premier-elect herself has just articulated her views saying that we need to deal with the socio-economic inequalities. So the experience that she's bringing on board and the team, the new team that she's going to be working with, should be enough to enable her to achieve the goals that the ANC has set, and then, of course, has given them a mandate to execute that goal.
All right, let's look at the context in which this new leadership will be working. Zikalala has offered to step down in his position of premier, though Siboniso Duma says he was offered to stay on until 2024, saying that his leadership was needed. But Zikalala saying there are three particular reasons that he believes that he could not stay on. One was the need for alignment at provincial level with the executive, but also an smear campaign which purported that he was anti-Zuma and therefore would not be able to have the authority to create unity. Your thoughts on these developments?
No, I'll disagree with the first reason. That is the alignment issue, because it's the same problem that the ANC found itself having to deal with in 2016. When the exiting premier, Zikalala, assumed the position of chair of the ANC in the province, there were talks about the so-called two centers of power. Some of us were saying, where does that come from? Because These are people who are working for the same organization, implementing the same policies of the organization. So whether I'm the chairperson or I'm the premier, it shouldn't be an issue really, because we are implementing the same policies. But that is what happened in 2016. This time around, there was a change in the sense that Siboniso Duma, as you just pointed out, and his team, they were saying that they are not going to page those whom they are succeeding, but instead they are going to make sure that Zikalala retains his position until 2024, as you have just alluded. But then the reason why Zikalala resigned is because, one, he failed to retain his position as the chairperson of the ANC in the province. But then even when they were trying to get his name added into the additional list of PEC members, he also did not make it there. So I think as much as Siboniso Duma and his team were prepared to let him stay until 2024, I don't think he felt comfortable, because he knew that there are people who are not supporting him. That is where then the second reason comes in, which is the main reason. The perception, which even in his exit speech, former Premier Zikalala pointed out that there are people who are of the view that he did not support the former president. That is the reality, because that is how people perceived him. You remember when he appeared in Pietermaritzburg High Court for the first time supporting the former president, people were asking the question, where were you all along? So that is the perception that is out there. But from his side, he says, it's convention in the ANC that we support the leadership that has been elected at that particular time, which was absolutely correct. But the perceptions, as I've said to other colleagues, that perceptions normally outweigh reality. That is why then he felt it was necessary for him to step aside voluntarily.
Let's reflect on the reality of the ground. The KwaZulu-Natal region says it's very confident that it will perform strongly going forward, and in fact it will get to control the province once again. It actually sees itself having 2 representatives in the top 6 at the elective Congress. Are these fissures real or imagined?
If you compare the now and the then being 2017 national election of the ANC, I think they still have a chance. As I indicated earlier on, that the newly elected leadership gives me the impression that they are prepared to mend the walls, as it were, and they are also prepared to correct whatever wrongs that they've done before. Because the main reason why the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal failed to get even 1 seat in the top 6 is not because of any other provinces making, it was because of a political suicide from KwaZulu-Natal. They went there disjointed, and I think they've learned a lesson. And the reason why the ANC did not do well in KwaZulu-Natal during the local government election in 2021 was not because the IFP was getting stronger or the DA was getting stronger, but it was because of the own goals that were scored by the ANC. So if the leadership admits that we made mistakes, let us rectify those mistakes and move forward. That is a good sign, because it means that the organization is being honest with itself, and therefore it will be honest with its electorate, because many people did not vote, not because they hate the ANC, but because they wanted to teach the ANC a lesson. If then they see an indication that the party is prepared to mend the walls and then bring unity, and then they will be in a position to support whoever is nominated to stand for the position. So I think if they go to the December conference in a better position than they were in 2017, they will definitely do better than they did last time around.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and insights. Bheki Mngomezulu, who is political analyst and professor of political science at the University of the Western Cape, including Deputy Dean of Research.